As the Trump administration ramps up its deportation efforts, as we're discussing, one New York lawmaker says he witnessed it firsthand. Video shows Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman confronting ICE agents back in May in a federal building that houses both his office as well as an immigration court. Goldman says that the agents wore plainclothes and masks as they arrested asylum seekers who were there for routine court appearances. And Congressman Goldman joins us now. He's a member of the House Judiciary and Homeland Security Committees. Congressman, good to see you. So let's start right there. First of all, the tactics these ICE agents using, wearing masks, even though President Trump on a nearly daily basis is telling protesters not to wear masks, ICE agents seem to be allowed to do so. Also, where they tried to make these arrests and therefore starting the deportation process at immigration court. People who are trying to do the right thing by checking in or whatever process they have right now, and instead they're maybe afraid to do so. Talk to us about what you saw that day.
Well, what's going on is this new policy that Stephen Miller has orchestrated, which is designed solely to increase the number of deportations. And while Donald Trump promised to go after convicted criminals and the worst of the worst, he's doing the exact opposite. What the Department of Homeland Security is doing is they're going into court. They're dismissing their own case, a removal case against immigrants. In many of those cases, the immigrants have done what they're legally allowed to do, which is to file asylum claims. Asylum is a lawful pathway to come into the United States. The Department of Homeland Security is dismissing their own cases, which voids out the asylum claim. The immigrants are then leaving court, going downstairs into the lobby of the building where my district office is, and there are a number of ICE agents, plainclothes, unidentified, wearing masks, who arrest them and send them into a different removal proceeding called expedited removal, where there's minimal due process and there's not enough time for them to refile their asylum claim. So these are people following lawful process, following the proper immigration proceedings for people who are seeking asylum, which is a lawful pathway. And instead, what's happening is they're being hoodwinked, essentially, and arrested. So these are people doing it the right way, who are nonviolent, non-criminal, and they're getting arrested. So what message does that send? Obviously, it sends the message, don't do things the right way. Go further underground. Don't appear in court. Don't follow lawful process. Don't pay your taxes, because many have work visas. And that's just going to make the public less safe.
Congressman, NBC News is reporting that now these tactical units are going to be expanded into cities like Chicago, Northern Virginia, New York, and other places. In Northern Virginia, I will note that will include going into the D.C. area over the next couple of days to ramp up these what can only be described as snatch and grabs. Is this legal? These nondescript individuals who we can only assume are federal agents. But as you noted, the federal agents in the courthouse in the federal building you were in did not have any insignia to say who they were with. Is this a legal thing that is happening to folks across the country? And I will note, it's not just the Latino or Hispanic community. We're talking about Haitians, literally anyone who is not an American citizen, and in some instances, actual Americans who just fit the profile.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of issues here. There's equal protection issues, due process issues under the Constitution, whether or not they're following the protocols of the federal government. I will be introducing a bill that will prevent Homeland Security officers from hiding or concealing their identities and wearing masks, because we don't live in a country, an authoritarian country, where we have secret police who are masked, who are intimidating, who are scaring people. That's the stuff of authoritarian states. That is not the stuff of that's not how the United States operates. And that's really where this is breaking down, is the combination of these Gestapo-like tactics with the fact that these are nonviolent, non-criminal immigrants doing things the right way. And that's why you're seeing protests all around the country. It's not that they're protesting that people who have convictions are being removed. They're protesting that they're going after all of our communities, and they're undermining the legal process. If you want to reform asylum, come talk to me. I would love to do that. It's a broken process, but we have to follow the law, and Donald Trump is not following the law. He is inciting more fear, he's using more intimidation, and he is trying to inflame a problem so that he can, in my view, say that this is an insurrection, and that he can essentially say that the United States is a victim of some invasion and insurrection, which is completely bogus. But that's where he's going with this. And he's trying to make things worse with, I think, illegally sending in the military, which clearly violates the Posse Comitatus Act. And that's the problem that he's going to run into. And there's a court appearance today where we'll shed some light on that.
And to your point, President Trump has mused repeatedly in recent days about possibly calling for the Insurrection Act, evoking it in Los Angeles. We, of course, will be watching that. Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman of New York. Congressman, thank you.
Thank you.